everybody, and welcome to our next group channeling session where I'll be channeling Source Oneness. So basically, I'll be channeling each and every one of you because we are also Source. And I'm joined by Patreon members. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
So without further ado now, I am going to go now into trance and bring forth Source 3. D1s. You are love. You are connected to all that is. You are the threads that connects all of life. You are the heartbeat that creates the rhythm of flow, that unites all beings, that creates all things. The universal flow is you. And just like universal flow, just like your very breath that you take, breathing in and breathing out, and so does the universe, so does all the planets, so does all of life. As the universe expands, contracts and expands, just like you. And as a mirror of the universal breath, of universal flow, you also experience the expansion and the contrast, and you call this duality. You call this separation. You call this and you perceive this to be the ups and downs in your reality experience, the fear and the love that is experienced in your reality. It is the ebb and flow. It is the breath of your dimensional reality. It is because of this dimensional reality in which you are existing in. It is because your consciousness is in this dimensional reality, although you exist in all other dimensions, and your consciousness is also there in those dimensions, but your awareness in this now moment is in this reality. So because your awareness is in this reality, in this dimensional experience, you experience this breath, this contrast, this expansion of love, and what you perceive to be darkness. But understand here, it's the perspectives in which you choose to see here. Understanding that this breath is what holds all the universe together. So do you judge the breath? Do you judge your breath? Do you judge universal flow? Or do you see it for the beauty in which it creates your world, in which creates the universe? Understand you have a choice in how you take this breath, in how you ebb and flow in this reality, and is your perspectives. We have talked about this at length in regards to your belief systems and how it manifests and creates and shapes your reality. But understand here, you are breathing as one, united as one species. Even though you are much more than the human being, and although who you truly are is much more than what you see in the mirror. And although some of you refer to themselves as hybrids and other forms of species, you are here having a human experience regardless of the aspects within you, regardless of your DNA that's being activated to embody your cosmic self. You are having a human experience. You are here to have that. Yes, you are transforming into much more of who you are. because you are here having a human experience, it's about recognizing how you as a species, as one people, breathe, adapt to the universal flow, adapt to the universal breath that holds all the clues and all the answers to why you are here. You are here to have the human experience. And yes, that means the ebb and flow of what you call as love and darkness. Understand these perceptions is aligned to certain belief systems that can empower you or they can limit you. The choice is yours. Understand when the collective moves to a point of acceptance, from a point of experiencing their reality, from a point of love, the meaning behind the fear will shift. And the technologies and the reasons that the duality will exist will change. The contrast will hold new meaning to physical reality. The soul lessons and the collective pathways will shift as it aligns to a higher understanding, to a higher dimensional experience of contrast and what that means for you and the collective. You have experienced much suffering, but it's because your perceptions of victimhood that allow you to explore this dimension, this variation of duality, we would say. But understand you do not have to experience this, and you as a collective are transforming this experience, transcending this experience, alchemizing it to experience contrast in a new way, a way that does not align to victimhood. Of course, you see this in your outer reality. It's because of your belief systems are still attached there. And if they're still attached to ideals of victimhood, then you will still perceive this in your reality. It's about addressing this. It's about acknowledging it's part of the human story, but it no longer needs to be if you so choose it. And you choose it by your perceptions. It's only in your perceptions that you shift your energetic bodies, your vibration, to such a point that when the collective gets to that point, it'll transform into another paradigm for humanity to explore. It is the way of expansion. It is the way of oneness as you are on the journey to remember more of your God self, more of your soul self. So understand, dear ones, there is nothing in your reality that is of intentional darkness. It is only your perception. It is the human belief systems and stories and narratives that you've collected throughout the human timelines that has imprinted your belief systems that darkness is evil, that there is a force out to disempower you. It is a story that has been shared through many civilizations, through many timelines. And because of this, it is, we would say, it's deep-rooted in the collective consciousness. But you are now starting to alchemize this, starting to see that there was just a narrative and not the truth of who you are. That in higher truth, the darkness is not what you perceive it to be. There is no evil. Everything is from a point of neutrality, of acceptance. This is unconditional love. And the forces of polarity is what creates physical realities. It creates experiences outside the source point perspective. That's why you are here, no matter what reality you're experiencing life in. You wanted to have a reality outside of that single point source consciousness. This is how we expand. This is how the universe expands, by we experiencing ourselves in different life forms, in different experiences, in different dimensions. For that to exist, polarity needs to exist. But understand, your perception of polarity does not mean suffering. It is just your perspective. It is just the narrative stories that has been held in your collective. And you have the power now to acknowledge this, to see it as, yes, it was a part of the human story, but you can alchemize this through the technologies that are available within you. For you are source, you are God, you have the abilities to remember the higher truth that all is love, all is unconditional acceptance. And we know that this concept may be challenging for some of you to see and experience, to see the unconditionality in all things, in all experiences, that all is happening for the highest good, even though you might not see it in the moment. It is because you as a collective, as part of the human narrative, it is to control your reality. And you've even done this through certain concepts of universal laws. You have used this to further control your reality. And in higher truth, there is nothing to control, because all dimensions and all forces that you speak of are you, just as existing in another dimensional experience. You perceive these to be different to you because of your state of polarity in which your consciousness is focused on in this reality. To understand, there is nothing to be afraid of, nothing to strive for you are already it. You are already here. Wherever you are, you have arrived. There was nowhere you need to reach, nothing you need to do but follow the inner guidance, follow the joy. It's about realigning yourself to the universal truth that all is unconditional, all is unconditional love. And you align to that by practicing unconditional acceptance, which is unconditional love. It is a more expanded version of your human perception of love and your human perception of fear. It is a transcendent version of this. It is the higher frequency perspective, the higher frequency experience of what it truly is to be in unconditional love, what it truly means to be in love. For true love is unconditional. But because you've placed conditions on yourself and others, you experience the polarity in intense experiences. You perceive the victim mentality. You perceive suffering. You experience suffering. And it all stems from the narratives, from the stories, from the belief systems that perhaps you didn't consciously accept into your energy field, but it is there in the human story, there in the human collective, which you are a part of. So regardless of how it is imprinted into your energy field, you are on the precipice of expanding your experience here by letting go of these limiting stories that has created suffering in your experience. You are now at a vibrational point where you can now see these higher truths for yourself, yet show compassion to those who still experience and perceive victimhood. It is not about judging those who experience victimhood or experience suffering. In fact, for those who believe they are suffering, who experience suffering, you can assist in the collective consciousness. You can assist in creating oneness remembered here by reaching out to your brothers and sisters, by showing compassion in action. It's not about turning your backs to those that you perceive as suffering. If they are in your immediate reality, it's about you being oneness in action, by recognizing that that person who believes and feels and experiences every aspect of victimhood, of suffering, understand that that is also you. Will you turn your back on you, on a version of you? So understand here, this is another, we would say, expanded concept, a new understanding, the higher picture and how your reality works and how you unite together to reach a higher frequency vibration for the collective, which means you can access higher technologies within you, within all the structures of your being, within your physical form, within your DNA, within your light bodies, allowing you to understand more of who you are and why you are here, and for you to activate more of your, what you call as intuitive or psychic abilities. Understand that these labels are somewhat limited because you are source, you are God, you are limitless. So do you see those in suffering as you, or do you ignore them? Understand this reality is giving you many opportunities to use your spiritual understanding, the higher perspectives of how the universe works, and use them in action to create what you have called the new earth, the golden age. It is here. You are we would say you're in the dimensional exploration of entering this paradigm now. You are here. But you still reach to another point of time. You still reach to go forwards in the future to a time when all is perfect, but all is perfect right here and now. It's just you do not see it. That change, that shift can only come from your belief systems and your perceptions, because that's what shifts the emotional body, and that's what shifts your dimensional experience, the shift of where your consciousness vibrates and focuses in this reality. Yes, you manifest many realities, but understand you are experiencing all realities simultaneously, just in different frequency versions of you, different dimensions that you have called it. There's nowhere you need to be because you are already there in all those dimensions, but you are here to focus on this dimensional experience. If you were not, your focus and your consciousness will not be here. But if it is here, understand that it is for you. This is how the universe works. There's nowhere you need to be but in the now moment, because you are already existing in all the now moments simultaneously across all of the universe, across all of the dimensions. And once you can understand this and integrate this into your energy field and start to really embody this truth by being love in action, by being oneness in action, you will then be able to access more of the multidimensional you in all realities. You'll be able to have open communication with you in other dimensions, you that's existing on other worlds and other parallel realities. It is here where you can access the realities beyond space and time, the rules that allow your reality to experience itself through the space-time continuum. Those rules will be shifted. You'll be able to access yourself and all of reality beyond the space-time constraints. So understand here, all that we speak of is here waiting for you. You have these abilities. But understand the key here is for you to shift the perspective, and not just to shift your perspective, but to take those perceptions and to do it from a point of tangible action. It is a focus on you by understanding that you are all others, but it's also a focus on all others because all others are you. Can you see here the different points of perspective, the different points of exploration in the oneness journey of remembering that you are God, that you are source? So understand that you are here on a master level playing field. Yes, times have been challenging, And yes, you've experienced suffering, but understand that you are at a master level. You do not see yourself, you do not see others at a master level. You do not see your reality as such, but understand you cannot see the full picture of what is going on in your reality. Understand the level of soul lessons that is being explored here is expanding your collective to far beyond you can ever comprehend. And it is through love, it is through acceptance, it's about being oneness in action. By seeing yourself, by seeing all others are aspects of you. By assisting those, by you speaking your truth, by speaking whatever you're inspired to do, by taking actions in whatever you're inspired to do. And bridging yourself with others, knowing that by you connecting with others, you are connecting the world. You are uniting the collective consciousness and allowing the collective consciousness to remember its God state and who you truly are as the extension of the planet. And then as you get to this stage of remembering, you'll start to understand your role in the greater cosmos, and the role of who you are as source. Experiencing a unique reality in this form that you chose. And it is with such love that we come through today to remind you of what you already know, because we are you. Are there any questions today, dear ones?
Hi. I would like to discuss the energies assisting us and the shifts for humanity. You talked about understanding that everything is an aspect of us. Everyone in our reality is just an aspect of us, as we are all one, and take tangible action and integration. And I also feel that these energies coming to Earth are becoming more intensified and more frequent. And another big shift is upon us in March. Not that it matters if it is in March or not in March, but this is what I sense, and I was wondering if you could talk around this.
T1, because of certain events that you've experienced in recent years, you have reached this point of great expansion, and you've seen these events manifested in your greater reality. And because you as a collective have managed to, we would say, undertake the collective soul lessons you wish to explore pre-birth, you have reached, let's just say, a new dimensional experience where you are now able to allow more activations to occur within you, because you have transmuted so much of those limiting stories in the collective that those worldwide events allowed it to be triggered. You experience a collective, what you call a collective dark night of the soul. It gave you many opportunities to go within and to transmute the limiting stories that limit you, that allows you to feel disconnected from others. It allowed you to see the higher perspective of what's important in your reality. So because of these shifts that all beings here experience in some form or another, it propelled the collective consciousness to the next stage, we would say. So because of these movements that the collective has undertaken, your collective is at a certain frequency point to allow, we would say, to allow more activations of your DNA to take place. We would say that different versions of us have come through to acknowledge the shift that is undertaking in your in your perception of the human year of this year of 2022. But understand time is non-linear, but understand it's about all to do with collective vibration. So you are at a point where, because you have transmuted these limiting stories in your energy field, even though many of you still have these limiting stories, you are at we would say a collective point where you are reaching this next stage, which means you are now, we would say, transforming into beyond the human structure. You are activating more of what you perceive to be a crystal light body. You are activating, aligning to your rainbow light body, which means you're then able to access even further technologies and embody more of your divinity, embody more of your cosmic nature into this physical reality. So understand this could not take place without you and the collective going through certain events that you experience as a collective these last few years. So you might ask, why would we choose to experience such grand events that triggered us, that caused us suffering in your perception of suffering? But understand these were shifts that were, we would say, events that were created pre-birth, and those individuals that we would say were impacted, we would say, to a point that changed their life. Understand that this is all part of their individual soul lessons, individual soul contracts, which you've called it, pre-birth intention. So understand there are no victims here going into this physical reality and experience such contrasting and polarizing events where you might perceive to be much suffering in your greater reality. It has allowed you as a collective to now align to who you truly are, which means aligning to what we have deemed, what we would say in a terminology that makes sense to you as a superhuman. For you are much more than a human, and now your actual DNA is being shifted. Your actual carbon-based structures within your body that gives you the physical appearance is shifting. Now, when we say this, we're not saying that overnight you will see these changes when you look at yourself in the mirror, but understand it's a gradual shift to accommodate your collective vibration, and those individuals who are aligned to higher frequencies within the collective. You'll have glimpses of perhaps what is to become for yourself, and you might experience these heightened abilities within you. But understand it is all aligned to we would say, the collective dimensional experience. So understand these changes are necessary, and these changes are wanted, and these changes for some of you may cause discomfort, but for those who are at certain frequency points, the discomfort will not be experienced. So it just depends on your unique frequency makeup, we would say, and the programs that is imprinted into your energy field that requires shifting. So it's about being acceptance with everything that you are experiencing, whatever shifts that are within you. Understand that it's all for you, and it is for the collective. And it is we would say, from the human perspective, it is a pivotal point in human evolution. You've already seen your perception of energy is increasing. You've already seen these changes taking effect within your belief systems and in manifested reality. It is because of your perception of space-time, you perceive the energies to be now moving in a more intense pace, in a faster pace, where the shifts are, we would say, closer together in your perception than it was in years gone past in your perception of space-time. But understand, because time is an illusion, your perception of things moving fast is only because you are starting to transmute and being able to move through the space-time continuum rules in a more expanded way. So even though the space-time continuum, we would say, paradigm that allows you to perceive your reality in such a way of linear time is being shifted because of your collective frequency. So because of this, you will experience timeline shifts. you are able to access the shifting of time, where in a single moment you can perceive a future dimension of what you call as a past dimension, parallel realities, you in a parallel reality simultaneously. You can access all of these space-time points in the continuum because the doors are opening, because you as a collective are at that point where you do not have to experience linear time in the way that which you have been experiencing it. It is all, we would say, to do with the collective frequency and what's now being activated within you. So this is why you are experiencing more heightened abilities. So it's about you being able to be in a point of curiosity that things will be shifting inside and out. You might see your reality shifting, and you might perceive it to be in ways that you do not prefer, but understand there is a higher picture behind what you are manifesting into your reality. And it's not about you controlling how you manifest to manifest more favorable conditions. Understand certain conditions are always meant to be, but you have the power to shift through your reality experience and manifest your understandings in a higher dimensional self. Because in higher truth, all you are truly manifesting is a higher dimensional self into this reality, where you can then see the love for what it is. You can see your reality for what it is, and you can access more of your limitless abilities in this reality. It is not because you are growing into something else. It's because that dimension of you that already exists is being attracted and manifesting and aligning into your consciousness in the now moment, you see, because all dimensions of you already exists. The you that remembers that they are God already exists. The you that remembers that they are superhuman and can access superhuman abilities in your terminology, heightened psychic intuitive abilities that can travel consciously the multiverse and throughout the universe already exists. You in all forms already exist, but you attracting that consciousness and aligning it into the now moment in this reality. And when the collective gets to the vibrational point where they are more aligned with this, that's when it engages the collective shift. So understand there is a collective shift, but there are also individual shifts within the dimensional experience of the collective. And this is why some of you experience heightened understandings and heightened dimensional experience compared to others, but understand that others are also in a high frequency. They have just chosen not to awaken in your terminology. So understand that all beings in this reality plays a sacred role in your terminology. They are highly advanced individuals. It's just some have chosen not to remember who they are in this now moment. It does not mean that it will not shift. So it's about seeing your reality for the advanced playground that it is. And this is aligning to your embodiment in physical form. So these are the changes that you are now feeling, and these are the changes that are aligned to what you perceive to be energies coming in. So understand that energies have always been there. It's just because you are at a collective frequency where you can now activate certain, let's just say, codes in your reality, and you're allowing certain, would say, energies to further awaken, further activate you because of the alignment of the collective consciousness. So understand you expand through patterns here. So we understand that the collective has reached a certain pattern where then you activate certain, we would say, channels of energy to come in and you experience them as intense surges of energy. So understand there are patterns that are taking place, but it all stems from the collective shift that is taking place and the certain patterns that you align to in the collective consciousness. Yes, you experience this in certain astrological changes and events. And for those of you that are sensitive, feel this more intensely when there are certain astrological shifts. It is because these astrological shifts are gateways to, we would say, alignments to the greater cosmos and greater understandings of the patterns of reality. To know the finer details of these patterns, it's not necessary, but this is just how the doorways of light we would say are opened in your perception of linear time, it is because you have arrived at a certain frequency as a collective. And this is why you're experiencing such energies at this now moment.
Yeah, so when I go within, they're talking about these new portals and new doorways that haven't been seen on Earth for a very long time. And so the collective is at a certain, tipping point or a certain frequency or a certain bandwidth, right? And so they're ready to shift into the next frequency band, I would say, right? And it's probably why Kimberly and I are so inspired to teach these teachings, because it helps shift all of us, the collective and ourselves, and to assist in these shifts for the collective and humanity. And the portals, the doorways, aligning galactically in an energetic pattern, that's just another multi-pronged approach in assisting the collective. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, D1. So understand the streams of energy that connects you and all planets. Understand there is a ebb and flow, and there is a greater pattern to how the universe works, how it contrasts, how it breathes. You are aligned to this breath. You are of the planet. So understand these doorways, these portals, is also in alignment to how the collective is in vibration and its relationship also to the planet. So understand it is you, it is the collective that raises the frequency that helps to assist in the planet remembering itself as you. So understand that the collective also is aligned to the consciousness of this planet, because you are an extension of the planet. So these, we would say, these portals, these doors, these astrological points of time, we would say are aligned to certain frequencies that the planet emits. But understand the planet emitting this frequency is because of the collective consciousness and all beings here on Earth, what you call it. So understand you are living, breathing extension of Gaia. So you are assisting all the planetary system, the planetary systems here. And it is because of the planetary systems that actually activates these portals and these doors. You perceive it to be a standalone movement for the human collective and all the different varied species. But from a higher understanding, it is the collective energies, the collective movement that activates certain trajectories, that activate certain energy structures of Gaia, of this planet Earth. And this is what creates certain energy fields and certain structures that helps to open these gateways that influxes the planet. And we would say, because you are of the planet, you naturally absorb these energies. So understand there are many different ways of how you perceive it. In terms of duality, it's easier to explain it in these terms of separateness, you being separate to Gaia, you being separate to other planets. But in the higher truth, all of this is just an extension of you. So understand here, it is, all you need to know is these portals are opening because you as a collective have assisted in the raising of the frequency of the planet. And now the frequencies are allowing the planet to remember itself as God. And you are starting to remember yourself as God because you're an extension of the planet, which helps draw on more patterns that creates, we would say, an unlocking of a door in your terminology. It is an evolutionary pathways that all species throughout all of the universe move through. These patterns are what creates the duality experience. It is what creates polarity. It's what creates life experiences outside the single point source origin focus. So understand these patterns are the building blocks of your reality, and these And these patterns, let's just say, are a foundation for all of life and all of creation. And the patterns of life are manifested in different forms and different technologies. So one of these technologies is the astrological gateways that helps to shift the planet, but understand the patterns are manifested and reflected in all areas of your reality. They are also reflected within you, within your very energy centers, within your being. So understand there is nothing truly outside of you. It's just where you choose to explore this in a point of polarity experience, because you are having a polarity experience, because you want to experience a life, a unique life outside of the single source point experience. But yet you are also on a path to remember that you are also God, that you are also source.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions today, dear ones?
So you pretty much answered most of the questions I already kind of had, but I guess like I feel like I've been trying to align with higher frequency views and understandings, and still I get caught up in patterns of victimhood and depression, kind of, and you know, feeling so stuck in, almost because I've put so much effort in trying to have higher perspectives. It feels so low when you get down, because you're like, you feel so like you'll never get out. And so you kind of mentioned you know, how to let go of the story and the narratives and that are going in our mind, and I do understand from a lot of the teachings we've had to bring out that love feeling, the unconditional love, even for that experience and all that stuff. But maybe you could talk a bit more about when you're just, you know, are you actually attracting higher frequency views if you're still experiencing those patterns?
Understand you will manifest exactly what you need to explore in accordance to your frequency. So if your frequency still has belief systems of victimhood, you will still manifest variations of this. But this does not mean you have to be in suffering of it. But understand, because the collective is still attached to suffering, even though the collective is transmuting this, because it is still a story, and because you are aligned to the collective consciousness, you will experience, we would say, events that may cause you to be triggered, but you will still have a choice whether you want to suffer through it or not. So understand that is the difference. Understand that these triggering events will still remain as long as these victimhood stories remains within your consciousness and within the collective consciousness. It is a pathway of evolution, and for you to transmute it, you must experience it. So understand this. You cannot avoid experiencing it if you want to transmute it, because it is about facing these higher soul lessons and acknowledging it for what it is. It is a pathway of expansion. It is a pathway to remember that you are God. This is all that it is. It's giving you an opportunity to put into practice these higher perspectives and to honor your journey. So understand it is okay to be triggered in fear, no matter how you experience that fear, whether it's anger, whether it's anxiety, whether it's sadness, whatever it is that's in its frequency representative of fear. Understand that you can get to a point where you're triggered by fear in one moment, and in the next moment, see it from a point of curiosity, by seeing its beauty in the moment, by seeing it as a soul test, even though you might not understand the greater details of it. So it is your belief systems and your thought processes that can lift you out of that dimensional experience in that moment. And this is what allows you to become stronger. You are using those metaphysical muscles, so to speak, because you're putting it into action. There'll come a point where you will no longer need to experience that into that severity, but understand the severity, we would say. And we don't say the events. When we say this, we mean the emotional experience of those events, because for one person, you can experience an event that can create so much suffering. You can experience the same event and not have any emotions of fear and that deep suffering the same as someone else. It's because of your unique frequency. So it does not mean you'll bypass certain events, but it'll give you an opportunity to experience in a heightened frequency. So you have access to heightened tools to see it for what it is. So if you are experiencing the perception of suffering, understand that this is just part of your evolutionary story. The fact that you have awareness of it means that you are already in the process of alchemizing it, because awareness is the first step. For many of you, do not have the awareness when you're exploring the negative emotion. So if you have awareness of it, understand that you're already at a highly advanced level to have awareness of your emotional state. And of course, we would say as part of the human condition of control, what can allow it to be stagnant in your energy field and not shift is you trying to be resistant to it, or you trying to control it. Because understand, the only way to transmute the fear and these limiting stories and these emotional experiences of negativity or fear is by you practicing the unconditional acceptance. This is the only way you release resistance to it, and it calls on you to feel the emotion, to understand it. And once you can understand it, it is only then when you can see the intricate soul lessons within and how they relate to you in your reality, and how they relate to you in your belief systems, and how they relate to you in your greater story of human existence here. And this is when you can truly transmute it. So understand you don't have to have all the answers every time you experience fear, but it's about you engaging with what you already know in your current frequency, by you using all the abilities that you have and the awareness that you have, and use it to elevate the perspective of what you're experiencing. And this means not to control the condition. It's about to accept where you're at, no matter if it is fearful or it's based in love. It's about accepting where you're at, accepting your journey, and that you are not moving backwards, that you are in fact elevating yourself on this path, because you're allowing yourself to face it. You're allowing yourself to work through the necessary soul lessons here to expand not only your consciousness, but the consciousness of the whole collective. So it's your perceptions on it that shifts it. And when you can shift your perspectives, you shift your emotional bodies. And then it is through the emotional bodies, through your emotional feelings, where you can shift it once again to lift yourself out of that dimensional experience. So it all starts with your thoughts. You have the power of thoughts, no matter where you are at in your experience. You have the power to shift your thoughts. And it's just one step at a time. You may not be at a point where you can be grateful of your experience, but you can, no matter where you are, be in acceptance of where you're at, be in acceptance of the pain, of the suffering, and understand this can take much bravery to be in that point. So understand this is not a small step. You might perceive it to be a small step, but understanding the vibrational nature of that step is, we would say, the most empowering perception and key for the human collective evolution. You might be acceptance, but are you really accepting it, or are you aligning yourself to resistance? Are you wishing to change the conditions? Are you wishing for something more preferred, or do you see the experience as just as beautiful as if you're experiencing love? What is your perceptions here? Do you see the oneness in that experience? Do you see it as an opportunity to reunite to another aspect of you that you have repressed, that you have disconnected from? It's giving you opportunity to unite to all aspects of you, the shadow selves of you, which require your acceptance. If you want to truly unite into oneness remembrance, into God realization, you are to face the shadow self. You are to understand it, and to understand it and to receive all the soul lessons there and the treasures there. It's for you to experience it, to feel your way through those emotions. That is when you can open the dialogue and communicate with this version of you, this aspect of you. It is through unconditional acceptance, because understand it's the resistance that you hold, of the collective holds, that disconnects you from understanding the purpose of the shadow self. It disconnects you from understanding why you're experiencing this. To understand it is the resistance that disconnects you from the truth of who you are. Unconditional acceptance is unconditional love. So this is the key to align you to that clarity of why it's in your reality and why are you on a certain soul journey in your reality. This is the key for all things and for all experiences in your reality. So we invite you to practice not just unconditional acceptance, but to then see the beauty in it, to see the expansion potential and experience what you perceive to be darkness, what you perceive to be suffering. It does not matter if you see all the answers, because understand, if you're in the depths of the darkness, this can allow you to temporarily experience yourself as being disconnected from the spiritual self. But understand this is just an illusion. Understand you can never be disconnected from your spiritual self. It's just portraying that illusion to give you the opportunity to focus on what's in front of you, to focus on the human experience of what you perceive to be third dimensional experiences. Understand these higher concepts helps to guide you, helps to give you faith, but you also need to explore things as a bridge, as a combination of these higher perspectives, but to also bring in the third dimensional aspects, because you cannot avoid those third dimensional ways of connecting to one another, because that is the evolutionary pathway. You already exist in all the high dimensions. You don't have to reach a high dimension. You're already there. It's about exploring fully the dimension that presents itself in your reality. You are not stagnant. You do not stay in one dimension and then we would say gradually go to higher dimension. Understand that you are a multidimensional being, and certain events will trigger you to move to certain dimensions. Certain events that also can activate more love in your reality will allow you to explore higher dimensions. So you are not stagnant. Everything is a breath. Everything flows. So you flow throughout all the dimensions, and it's only your focus that determines where you are to work through from that perspective. So if you're experiencing third dimensional experiences, which is the darkness, which is the fear, understand you have not gone backwards. You are just being presented opportunities to assist in your expansion and your evolutionary journey, D1. It is all part of this higher evolution of consciousness and in form. And it's through unconditional acceptance, to letting go of that resistance, where you receive that clarity for yourself.
Thank you.
Does this answer your question, D1?
Definitely. I mean, there's a lot there. There's a lot to reflect about. Everything's in the flow, and to be in acceptance. Sounds like to be in acceptance of the resistance, and to be present in the now of the experience of the human limitation that I've created for myself. And that everything is always flowing, so it's not going backwards. I'm not necessarily stagnant, although it feels like I'm stagnant sometimes. And it's only my focus that brings about these kind of experiences, and then that gives me an opportunity to work with those limitations. That's what I understood.
And D1, when you feel stuck, when you feel you can't lift yourself out of the perceived darkness, out of the perceived fear, we would say, in collaboration with you practicing the unconditional acceptance, also look for things that elevate your vibration. Look for things to explore that brings you joy. And this will also assist you to elevate your vibration. To look for things that bring you fun, bring you joy, that bring you back into childlike play. And this also allows you to be more vulnerable, that allows you to take down that resistance. Because when you think back to the times of when you were a child and you had less responsibilities, you also felt more free. So it's about aligning to that freedom state, even though it is your innate state of being. The freedom is the antidote to resistance. So if you are having trouble in the moment to get to that vibration, to be an unconditional acceptance and to align to that freedom state of being, look for things that brings you back to the point of freedom, of childlike play, that brings you joy. And this will help to balance out the journey of exploring the shadow self. Understand you only have to explore the deeper depths of the shadow self when you're triggered in the moment. When you're triggered in the moment, you are given an opportunity to see the higher perspective, to put that into action. But at times when you are not triggered, look for things that bring you joy. And this elevates your perception and helps to balance out this journey here, because it aligns you to the frequency of love, which is who you truly are. Who you truly are is unconditional love.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot of great information to work with.
Is there any other questions before we finish here today? Understand, dear ones, you are expanding far beyond your comprehension, far beyond your known reality. Some of you experience who you truly are in the multiverse. Some of you can already bypass the rules of space-time. Some of you can already put your focus into other dimensions. So understand this is part of the gifts that you have. It is part of your soul contracts. It's part of why you chose to be here. But understand these abilities are also here for the collective. And it starts with you putting oneness into action by using his higher perspectives in tangible action. We know they may seem simple steps by practicing unconditional acceptance, but understand that the task at hand is not always easy. Understand that for some of you who have been well versed and practiced in practicing unconditional acceptance for the events that manifest in your reality, but you still hold resistance to the emotions that you feel and to the actions of others that may trigger you. So understand there are so many opportunities here in your greater reality to practice oneness in action. And this is a pathway for you to remember that you are God, to understand your oneness nature, to understand that you are source. You are to explore who you are in relations to one another, who you are in relations to the planet. For you to truly understand that you are one, that you are source, that you are God, you need to also see and perceive that you are all others. We would say, For you might be able to conceptually understand that you are source, but for you to embody that, to experience that, you are to embody the understanding that you are all others and all life. So for you to embody this is for you to do this in action, for you to take action by you practicing unconditional love, unconditional acceptance with all others, by knowing that all others are you, by knowing that if you are triggered, understand this is part of your journey, that you are not going backwards, that you have been given an opportunity to expand yourself, to activate further your DNA in your light body, to receive that clarity, to allow yourself to remember that you are God, to assist in the collective, to remember that they are God, that they are the planet. You are all that is. And it is with such love that we come through to remind you of what you already know. Until next time, farewell.